So, good afternoon. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day. Enjoying the soggy weather in England and Scotland, or wherever it is you're watching. It's hammering down as usual where I am. But this is a big debate that's going on since last night about Granit Xhaka. Let me just read this comment out. Stop making Xhaka a scapegoat, you clown. Where was Pepe? Well, if you'd watched my live stream last night, mate, you would have seen that I gave him a 2 out of 10 because he was rubbish. But there we go. Anyway, I can't use good evening anymore. Now our manager has dropped that from his press conferences and interviews. So we're back to evening. So later on this evening, I will be doing a live stream at 5 o'clock. And then at 9 o'clock, I should be joined by S.Teov, who's a United fan. He's not a biased United fan either. So that should be a good stream. I'm going to double check that he's still all right to do that at 9 o'clock. But yeah, this Granit Xhaka debate has been going backwards and forwards since last night. I've looked at it maybe 100, 120 times. I still think that he ducked. That's my opinion on it. A lot of people are saying that it took a deflection off of Socrates, and that's why it went over his head, and that's why it went into the goal. A couple of people I've seen have said that Leno should have kept his eye on it, and he might have had a chance. He weren't saving that, in my opinion. But one thing I will say here is, regardless of whether you think it was deflected or not, why is his head down? I don't understand that. And I've not seen a single person give me a decent reply as to why his head was looking down at the ground. The only thing I can think of as to why he was doing that is because maybe he wanted to go and do a flick header over the bar. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. But it's not really inspiring, is it, to see the guy who's the captain put his head down. Now, what I wanted to say as well is, if you actually watch the whole lead up to that goal, we should have scored. Saka had a shot. De Gea, good save, very good save. He parried it. Guendouzi, again, he made a great save from him. I think Guendouzi should have scored. Saka, he didn't put enough power on the shot, and De Gea made a good save. But Guendouzi's got to put his laces through that and fire that into the top of the net. But listen, it's what happens. From that corner, that's where it all starts going wrong. You know, we got done on the counter. Guendouzi, funny enough, was the guy chasing. I can't remember who it was that was running down the wing. I think it was Rashford, wasn't it? I don't know. I can't remember exactly who it was. But Guendouzi was legging it back. Aubameyang was chasing back real quick as well. But by the time he got all the way back to the edge of the box, the ball was in the back of the net. Now, when you watch Granit Xhaka, let's take away whether he ducked or didn't duck for now. We'll come back to that in a minute. When you watch Xhaka, the reason he was the last man in that box is because he ran back, and fair play. Listen, he tracked back. You can't knock him. He tracked back, right? But then he stopped. He stopped in the box because the ball had been whipped in across the goal, and he thought the ball was either going out or the danger had gone. So he sort of stood still for a split second, which then meant when the ball come back in, or onto the edge of the box, Socrates had to go and press. Now, after watching that over 100 times, why is Socrates shrinking? What's he doing? You know, this is the big brute of a defender, the big Greek warrior. Why is he shrinking? You know, and as much as I'm blaming Xhaka for ducking, Socrates has got to take some blame in that goal as well. Why is he sort of turned his back and shrunk and got smaller? What is that all about? You know, and that is exactly why we are not up at the top of the table challenging for titles or even challenging for top fours in the last few seasons, because we've got players like that tend to shrink. Now, let's go back to Xhaka. Right? There was maybe 8 yards, 9 yards between him and Socrates. It took the smallest of deflections. Yes, it diverted the ball slightly. And like I said, the only thing I can think of as to why his head is looking at the ground is because maybe he thought that he was going to flick one over the bar. Now, I'm sorry, that ain't good enough. That is not good enough for me. You've got to keep your eye on the ball. Anything could happen. He can see Socrates is pressing McTominay. Take nothing away from McTominay, by the way. That was an absolute screamer. You know, whether it took a slight nick or not, what a finish. But you've got to keep your eye on the ball the whole time. You've got to make sure that you stand up tall, you keep your eye on the ball, and if it does take a slight nick, he can see Socrates is pressing him, so he knows that that's possible. And I know he funded that 100 mile an hour, whatever it was, And I know it's in slow motion a lot easier to mug somebody off than it is to watch it in real time. But I've watched it real time, slow motion, super slow motion, super slow motion. He's took his eye off of it and put his head down. If he had stood up tall and kept his eye on it, I think he could have maybe got his head on it. He could have jumped. He could have took one in the face. That's my opinion on it. I think that, if that was Vidic, Ferdinand, John Terry, I know they're centre-backs and he's not. But if it was Vieira, Adams, any of these players, Roy Keane, they would have stood there and took one in the face. Now, when I watched this morning some of the analysis from Roy Keane and from Jamie Carragher, Carragher's saying that he basically ducked. Roy Keane argued that he didn't, and then Roy Keane showed him the other angle and said that because it took a deflection, that's why it went over his head. Well, if your head's down, you've automatically made yourself smaller. Socrates shouldn't be making himself smaller. He's 6 foot tall. He should be jumping out in front of that ball, again, trying to take one for the team. And then once he doesn't do that, Granit Xhaka is the last line of defence. He has to do that. And he didn't. You can't blame Leno for that goal. Anyone who's tried to tell me this morning or last night that Leno could have saved it is just, listen, pass the blunt. Not good enough. But that doesn't tell the whole story, because we didn't draw that game because he ducked. We drew that game because we weren't good enough last night. We gave him way too much respect, and it just simply wasn't good enough. We showed little fight, really. It was kind of sad to see us go to Old Trafford and put in a performance like that. But then on the flip side of it, we have only lost one game, and that game was to the European champions. And in the 7 games we've played, we've played Liverpool, we've played Tottenham, and we've played Man United. We're 4 points behind the champions. I think if anyone had asked us at the start of the season when we see the fixtures, you'd be 4 points behind Man City. Yeah, they're not top of the table, but you'd be 4 points behind Man City after 7 games, seeing them fixtures. I think we would have took that, So don't forget as well, people that are sitting there saying this is the worst Man United team in living history and this and that. Let me read this out before it disappears, because it will disappear. Xhaka ducks headers like ducking bill collectors. Nice one to read to us. I'm going to come to some comments in a minute and read out the rest of as many as I can. We'll do this for about half hour total, yeah. But I'll just look at that game last night. Let me say this about Man United, right? Everyone's saying it's one of their worst teams ever, like in living history and this and that. Let's not forget they slapped Chelsea 4-0 at Old Trafford. That's the only game this season they have scored more than 1 goal in. Every other game they've only scored 1 goal. Let's not also forget high-flying Leicester that everyone's ranting and raving about Brendan Rodgers has got them playing fantastic football, yeah, and they're above us in the table. Let's not forget Man United beat them as well. So we can all sit here and be downbeat about the fact we've got a draw at Old Trafford. And I was gutted how we played. Don't get me wrong. I think we played shocking last night. But we got out of jail with Aubameyang's goal. In fact, we got out of jail by VAR, because that linesman should be done for fraud and deception. What was he doing? He was right in front of it. How's he pulling that for offside? And thank God VAR is in the game right now, because otherwise we would have been on the wrong end of another shocking decision at Old Trafford. But listen, let's not get carried away. I'm sitting here. We've lost 1 game. We've got Standard Liège on Thursday. I'll be doing a watch along with Chig for that as well. So go and check him out if you haven't already. His link's in the description. Georgie, the Leicester fan, says we lost by a soft penalty. It was a soft penalty, but you still lost. And you've played some decent football this season, Leicester, mate. So, and it is one of the worst Man United teams that I've seen, and I'm 37. But let's not forget, this is the same Arsenal as a football club that got bantered off by David Moyes, and that team was worse than this team. That's my opinion. Louis van Gaal, some of the teams he had over them couple of years he was at Man United, it weren't great. Jose Mourinho always does a number on us, and the fact that we haven't won there for 10 years, over 10 years, 13 years. 13 years was last time we won there. So to get out of there with a draw when we probably should have lost and played absolute crap, I suppose we've got to be happy with that. But going forward, we've got Bournemouth at the weekend. We've got Standard Liège midweek, Thursday. And we need to seriously put in a proper performance, because we're not playing great at the minute. Pepe looked lost last night. He was shocking, absolutely shocking. And, the youngsters done it again. Saka, again, fantastic. Guendouzi, fantastic. Callum Chambers played well. Leno played well. He kept the score to 1, if we're being honest. Some of the saves he made were superb. David Luiz, I thought he was decent last night. A lot of people have argued that with me. That's cool, but I thought he was sweet. I thought he did really well last night. He was our best defender. So yeah, that's my take on it. But yeah, just coming back to Xhaka, I wouldn't say that he ducked. I'd say that he just dropped his head. He didn't go, no, I'm ducking. He just put his head down. And like I said, the only way I can see that he would have done that is because I think he thought he was just going to flick one over the bar. You can't do that. You're 10 yards out from your own goal. You've got to take one in the face if you have to. And people are going, oh yeah, but 100-mile-an-hour ball coming at you in the face. Would you do that? Well, yeah, if I'm playing football on 100 grand a week and I'm the captain of Arsenal Football Club, I would die for the cause, mate. It's as simple as that. And we need players that are going to do that. As it stands at the moment, we've not got many of them. And that is why we constantly end up in this situation where we give away goals that could be stopped. I see a stat this morning that we've the first 44 games of Unai Emery compared to the last 44 of Arsene Wenger. The stats are pretty similar. We've got the same amount of goals. No, I think we've scored the same amount of goals or conceded more goals. Same amount of wins, but we've got 5 points more or 3 points more. So it's not great, is it? Let's be real. But at the same time, we've still got 3 of the back 4 to come in, because I think as soon as Holding is properly fit, he will start. I think Tierney's definitely starting. Kolasinac ain't good enough. And Callum Chambers, it'd be kind of sad to drop him out the team, but I do think Bellerin's going to come straight back into that when he is fully fit. Maybe use Callum in midfield, maybe use him at centre-back in certain games. And it'd be sad to see that, because, listen, I've not been his biggest fan over the years, but this season he started fantastic. So fair play to him. We've scored less goals, says everyone in the chat. Well, there we go. But this is the thing as well, I quickly want to touch on before I read some of your comments and all that. Yeah, only 50 likes on this so far, and over 420 people watching this. So do whack them likes up over 100. It does help the channel. And big up everyone who's subscribed so far. Not far off of 29k. So that's a mad achievement. So thank you very much. But yeah, one thing I want to touch on as well, right, is I've seen a lot of people saying that if we had gone to Old Trafford with the previous manager, with that squad last night, we would have run out 3-4-0 winners. Can we all just remember here, and I'm not trying to have a dig at him, right? Can we just all remember here, we've been bantered off at Old Trafford for 13 years. We either lose or draw at Old Trafford. We ain't won at Old Trafford for 13 years. So personally, I think we've had better squads over them 13 years than the one we've got now. And we've still not won there. So I don't know. Listen, 1 loss in 7 games. We've played Liverpool, Tottenham, both Champions League finalists. We've played Man United, a place where we don't win. So yes, it was disappointing to draw with Watford. Yes, it was disappointing to draw with Tottenham. We should have won the game in the end. But we've only lost to Liverpool. So let's just have a bit of perspective on it. Anyway, thank you very much to over 400 odd of you watching live. Let's go into some of these comments. 4C says, AFTV say nothing about Pepe, shows they are in on it. What do you mean? Because I watched Troops' interview and he said Pepe was the worst player on the pitch, mate. So I don't know. I don't know what you meant by that. Louise was brilliant last night, says Ali. Yes, he was. I thought he was superb, mate. That was his best performance for us, in my opinion. I know he played well against Burnley, but that was his best performance for me. What are we missing as a team, says Rodney. Afternoon to you, mate. Good question. I'll tell you what we're missing as a team, the midfield. The midfield. I've seen a lot of people, I want to say this as well. I've seen a lot of people saying, well, we're playing with 3 defensive midfielders. Since when's Guendouzi and Granit Xhaka been defensive? You know, Torreira last night was the only defensive player, but he's being played too far up the pitch. So that's where our problem is. The fact that we're playing the wrong midfield in every game. And that is exactly where we are going wrong, is the wrong midfield. And that comes down to the manager to get the right midfield balance. And he's not doing that at the moment. If he did do that, we'd be a better team. And I'm hoping that he learns from these mistakes that he's making very quickly, because if he doesn't, he will end up getting sacked. And if he doesn't get sacked, they won't trigger the last year of his contract at the end of the season, and they'll go and replace him. We need Pepe booted out by January. He's absolutely dog shit, bruv. Seriously, what are you smoking? Come on, mate. Seriously. Half dogs. Afternoon to you. Saka was unbelievable, mate. He was superb last night. Absolute brilliant performance from him. To go to Old Trafford, regardless of how good or bad Man United are, to go to Old Trafford and put in a performance like that when you're that young in front of 75,000 people, fair play to that kid, man. Unbelievable from him. The manager hasn't even worked out his best 11 yet. Why the hell has he not sorted it? Says Dow N77. Do you know what? I agree with that. He don't know what his best 11 is, and I'm not gonna sit here and back him, because he's been here like long enough to know what his best 11 is. I can't answer why he don't know what his best 11 is. I think that last night we should have gone with Willock and Ceballos instead of Guendouzi and Xhaka. Yeah, and the reason, listen, that sounds stupid. People mug me off when I said drop Guendouzi in my preview. I would have played Willock because he's got the legs to get up and down all night. Yeah, he's got the physicality side of it. He could get in and around McTominay, get in and around Pogba. Ceballos could give you that little bit of creativity. You know, I've also seen a lot of other people saying that, Mesut Ozil should have been in the squad. Why? Does anyone genuinely believe that he would have done anything last night? Right, it's not 2013 anymore. Why are we still pinning our hopes on a guy that hasn't done absolutely anything for 2 seasons? You know, Bukayo Saka's got half the assists this season than he's got in 2. So I don't understand. But one thing I do understand is our midfield is not good enough. What am I smoking? Are you afraid of calling him out for some reason? We need him off the books by January. He has no work rate. Listen, bruv, yeah, you clearly didn't hear my player ratings last night. So go back to my video, skip to about 2 hours, 30 minutes, and you'll be able to understand exactly my thoughts on Nicola Pepe, yeah? Because I said last night, he was shocking and he's not been great since he's got here, but he's played 7 games. Yeah, if you're giving up on a player after 7 games, bruv, seriously, how long did you back the manager for? How long have you backed Mesut Ozil for? What about other players? Do you back Granit Xhaka? You know, because I find it hilarious how a lot of people are giving up on Pepe after 7 games, but they sit here crying for Mesut Ozil to start games when he's done fuck all for 2 years. So it's kind of a bit of a double standards, really, isn't it? A bit of hypocritical. Has Ceballos played well away from home this season? Afternoon Tokyo Guna. He hasn't. I also said that in my player ratings last night. I didn't think he was that great when he came on. He was shocking at Anfield, weren't great against Watford, and he was poor again last night. He's more of a home player rather than an away player, and we can't afford to have players like that. Listen, I'm going to give him time as well. He's only young as well. He's only just come into the league. We just need to go and slap a team 5-0. Yeah, maybe that could be Bournemouth at the weekend. Who knows? I doubt it, but you never know. They're a decent team, so let's not try and mug them off. Bournemouth is on form at the moment, so Sunday's going to be tough, says PZB. Afternoon, mate, and it is going to be tough. Start Pepe Thursday for a confidence boost, says Flugger. Well, that's what I'd do. Maybe take him out the starting 11 for Premier League games for a couple of games. Obviously, after Sunday, it's international break again. Another pointless international break, just as we're getting back into our rhythm again. Josh King FC. Well, yeah, it probably will be. Ozil is good enough to be there. Never mind your opinion. You can't accept Guendouzi to do what Ozil can. Well, listen, I don't expect Guendouzi to do what Ozil can, but Ceballos can, and he can do it better because he can dribble past a man. Ozil hasn't been able to dribble past anyone since Madrid. He played well at Watford, then got subbed for some. Actually, yes, you're right. You're right, Lee. I do apologise. Ceballos did play well at Watford and got subbed. He was our best midfielder that day. Whether Xhaka ducked or not, if Torreira was the attacking mid, he should have been onto McTominay. So there was nowhere during the first goal. Granit did his job and was fouled when he fouled Lingard. Do you know what? He got lucky with that as well. He got lucky with that because he grabbed him around the throat or around the neck, sort of up here, properly dragged him down. But I suppose the ref obviously played the advantage because it was off the ball. He might not have seen it. But if that had been brought back for a free kick, that would have stopped the goal. So it's kind of weird how it all panned out in the end. But big up Amsterdam 87. Xhaka replacement is more important than me graduating college. Come on, bruv. I know that you Americans, it's all about the college settings over there, bruv. I remember thank you for your donation as well. Genuinely appreciate that, bruv. When I went to spring break in Mexico, I swear to God, right, I'm just like chilling on the beach or chilling in the pool or whatever, or around the pool. The amount of Americans that come up to me and said, "Hey, dude, what college do you go to, man?" And it was like, I don't go college. That's not what we do in England, man. I just wanted to get paid, so I left. And I started to get a job and I got paid. So, but I know in America, it's all about college, man. And listen, I ain't knocking it. If that's what you want to do, cool, man. But listen, graduate. That's more important than getting Granit Xhaka out. Xhaka should not be blamed for United's goal. The turnover should never have happened. Our corner leads to a goal. Well, that's the first mistake. Exactly, Harry. The first mistake is the turnover. So I can't disagree. Listen, we should have scored. Guendouzi's got to score that. Fire it into a cross goal into the top corner. We go 1-0 up. They're walking back, licking their wounds to halfway, and we get in at half time 1-0 up. Totally different game. Instead, but they go straight down the other end, and our centre back Socrates shrinks. And Granit Xhaka puts his head down. They're then 1-0 up. Inside a 1 minute period, we've gone from nearly scoring to conceding and losing at half time. And that is Arsenal in a nutshell, and has been for a long, long time. Set pieces were awful yesterday. Afternoon beerish, yes, they were. He didn't duck, man. It was deflected. I've already been through this. Bala. Listen, it was deflected. It was the slightest of deflections, but he'd already gone to put his head down to try and flick it over the bar, I think. You've got to keep your eye on the ball, mate. You taught that from 5 years old. It was barely deflected, exactly. And listen, if you go and watch that, yeah, right, and like I said, I've watched it over 100 times. It didn't divert the ball that much because the ball still went over his head. So if his head was upright instead of down here, he would have got his head in it. So it hardly made any difference, that deflection. But I also blame Socrates for that. And I didn't really go in on him last night, but I've seen it back so many times today. What is he doing? He turns his back and he shrinks. Yeah, and it's like, you're supposed to be our centre-back. You're supposed to be that big, strong, hard man at centre-back. What has happened to him this season? Because he's just melted this season. Last season, he played all right. My clock is a minute fast. Is it really? Yeah, it is actually. Oh dear. Sanchez was 36 million. Pepe is double. Yeah, that's called inflation, mate. South London's finest. Big up yourself, bruv. Pepe will take time, but he has to stop playing his game, taking on his man. This is the thing, right? He needs to try and keep it simple. He's trying to do too much. And big up Troops as well, because Troops said he don't like. I watched his interview. If you haven't watched it, he was quite critical of Pepe, but I think he'll come good. Yeah, I think he'll come good. And listen, everything he said in that interview, I agreed with. Like, why has he got no confidence? You know, he's got a couple of goals, the other week against Villa. He scored. He's got a couple of assists to his name already this season. So he shouldn't be no confidence. But I don't know. I can't really tell what it is. This league's unforgiving. We know that. And it's swallowed up bigger and better names than Nicola Pepe. So hopefully he does come good. I think he'll come good. And yeah, we shall see. Spurs versus Bayern Munich, your pick. Bayern Munich all day long, mate. They're in a little bit of turmoil, Spurs. What do you think will happen to Niles now? He has no place in the squad. Well, he was in the squad last night, Harv. And I think that I don't know. I think he could play in midfield. That's his position. You never know. You never know what Emery's going to think, or what he's going to do. Pepe didn't have a good African Cup of Nations, and he's looked jaded ever since, says Ricky. That's true also, mate. Good comment there, bruv. Are you doing a Spurs versus Bayern Munich watch-along? I am not, actually, no. I'm doing a live stream with S.Teov about the Man United game. We're going to do a little review with a Man United perspective, because he's a Man United fan. So we'll get his thoughts on the game as well, see what he thinks. And like I said at the very start of the stream, he's not a biased Man United fan. You know, all the players that most United fans like, he don't, and vice versa. So it should be good. It should be a good stream. That'll be at 9 o'clock. I'm doing another stream at 5 o'clock, so keep your eyes peeled for both of them. 600 people watching as well. Let's drive the likes up to 200 if we can. I'm going to do another 5 minutes of answering your comments and questions out. 4, that's the first thing I've agreed with in the comment section from you today, my friend. Martinelli needs more games. He works hard. I agree. I think he's superb, that kid. I think he does deserve starts. I think he should be playing. We see against Forest, he scored 2 fantastic goals. Anybody who's put in Ozil, Emery, come on, seriously. It's not 2013. And I don't know what you guys think Ozil's seriously going to do in the next year or so that he's got left on his contract. He'll probably be binned in January. Axel Witsel is CDM in January, says Frank. Possible. You never know. It wouldn't be cheap, though. He's going to cost a few quid, isn't he? What would it take you to become Emery out? Afternoon Marble Halls. If you're not subscribed to Marble Halls TV, go and check him out as well. He's got a good channel there. What would it take for me to be Emery out? Maybe getting slapped 8-2 at Old Trafford, selling our best player to Man United, getting done 6 at Chelsea, 6-3 against Man City, 5-1 away to Bayern Munich, 5-1 against Bayern Munich 3 straight times, losing to Bradford. I could go on. Because believe it or not, just because I was Wenger out, I was actually Wenger in for a hell of a long time. Maybe what, 15 years, 16 years? I was properly Wenger in. So why would I quit on this manager after 1 season? Big up Sonny in the chat. I don't even want to go to games anymore. Waste of money. Go and subscribe to Sonny if you ain't already. Well, congratulations for over 1,000 subs now as well, bruv. So well done. On to 2K now, yeah? Go and show him some love. 7 for Risha. Big up yourself, bruv. Hope you're good. I told you Iwobi was much better at the African Cup of Nations than Pepe. Iwobi is a much better holder of the ball and passer than Pepe. I wasn't too keen on his purchase from the get-go, but well, listen, I liked Iwobi. A lot of people didn't. A lot of people hate on Iwobi because he has no end product. So I get why people are hating on Pepe right now, but at the same time, Pepe's had 7 games. Let's see what we're saying in 70 games, yeah, and make a judgment on him, you know, or even 38 games, a whole season. I don't know, but you know, Iwobi was decent. I was devastated when we sold him because I thought he was quality, but he was genuinely somebody who could run at people, hold the ball off, like hold a man off at full pace. There's not many players who can do that, you know. So yeah, there we go. Right, I'm going to do a few more minutes of this. And I'm going to get myself out of here. Still over 560 people watching, so thank you for that. Do subscribe if you're new. Also, my game capture has arrived. So if you're not subscribed to Gunner Gaming, Lee Gunner Gaming is in the description. Go and subscribe to that. I'm now going to try and faff around and get this all linked up and try and do some streaming at some point. Whether that'll be today or not, we shall see how long it takes to get it set up. So yeah, hopefully it will be today. Why do you think Pepe is better than Zaha? bruv, listen to me, Alex. Yeah, why do you think Zaha is better than Pepe? Answer me that. Liverpool feared Pepe. Enough said. Give him time. Thank you. Comment of the day. Yeah, Van Dijk was shook every time he got the ball. So was Robertson. Yeah, so there we go. And I've never seen Van Dijk ever step back 10 yards off a man in his life. He did that multiple times against Pepe. That is what Pepe brings to the team. 7 games in this league. or 7 games overall. So when he's fully in full flow, when he's got a little bit more confidence, I don't know why he's not got any confidence, but when he is in full flow, we're going to see Pepe selling dreams. So there we go. Anyway, listen, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you to over 600 at one stage that watched this stream live. Still over 530 now. Subscribe to League Gunner Gaming. I'm going to have some content on there ASAP. Now the game capture's arrived. Subscribe to Granit Eagle Eye as well. Big up my boy for last night for the live stream, the watch along. And don't forget, I'll be back at 5 o'clock with a stream and 9 o'clock with Stel, the Man United fan. We're going to go back over the game from last night. So keep your eyes peeled for all of that. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Listen, if I didn't read out all your comments, I do apologise, but there's literally hundreds. It goes mad. So yeah, I'll be back later on. Do like the content, subscribe if you're new. Laters, peeps.